in Struisbaai for the international tournament 2019, and you know, nationals and the internationals is totally on a different type of level. Yeah, you're fishing with the best against the best, and it's always a much bigger privilege or honor, and there's a big responsibility to do the best you can for your country. Our facet of fishing is rock and surf fishing, and the way we compete with our wading and the types of fish that we target and the sharks and the conditions and that, there's actually very few other countries in the world that fish the same way as we do. So at this stage, the only country that really competes at the same level as us out of a rock and surf point of view is Namibia. And I mean, they're also hardcore fishermen, proper competitors, and the rivalry's been going on forever. It must have been from the 50s, maybe even earlier, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's always a tough competition. We used to fish 1 year in South Africa and 1 year in Namibia. For the last, I think, about 3 years in a row, we fished over there. So this is our first opportunity to showcase South Africa for some of the guys on their team, and we're obviously hoping to fly the flag quite high, fishing back in our home water. So we're all amped and looking forward to it.
Okay, for us it's all on points. It's who catch the most, the biggest weight at the end of the tournament. So it's a 3-day tournament, and it's straight. It's just weight. If you catch, you know, if you catch them 100 kilos and someone else catch something 50, that's the winner, the 100 kilos. So it's basic. That's why we target the bigger animals, the bigger fish, because it's obvious. I mean, if you can catch a bronzy of 150, you've got to catch a lot of small fish to make it up, which is almost impossible. And that's the scoring system. It's straightforward. It's just weight. The weather's not great. You know, we looked at all the weather sites, and you know, there's a strong southwesterly blowing right now. Not ideal, and then it blows tomorrow. It's our first day of competition, and there's a big swell predicted for tomorrow, like 4.5 meters, which is not ideal anywhere. It doesn't matter where you fish. And the thinking is of maybe going, we haven't decided the areas, but it looks like we might go to the dam. You know, the dam tell you it's a flat place that holds a big swell. It's a good place to fish, but also you need that easterly wind. So no easterly wind, so I think tomorrow will be a tough day if we go there. And then the winds swing around to easterly, which is correct, and the next 2 days will be easterlies, and I think there'll be more fish as the tournament progresses. So Wednesday will be more fish than Tuesday, and I think Thursday might just be the day, although the wind is predicted quite strongly. But I believe that Thursday will be a couple of good fish around.
At the opening function on the evening before the tournament starts, there's an old tradition where the first caps get their jackets presented to them on stage. This is a very proud moment for the guys. They've worked very hard for years to achieve their position in these different teams. This is a good sign of recognition for all the hard work the guys have put into fishing, and for them to ultimately get their colors at the highest level in fishing. When it comes to international tournament, there's 6 teams that take place in this tournament. The first team is your under 16s, then you've got your under 21s, you've got the ladies that take part, the seniors, the masters and the grandmasters. They all fish within the same area, but on a specific day, 3 teams fish together in one area and 3 teams in another area. So you've got your under 16s, your ladies and your grandmasters fishing together in the area, and then you have your seniors, your under 21s and the masters fishing in one area. On the first morning, all the anglers got together in the parking lot at the dam. They had a quick roll call, and after that they all headed off to their respective fishing spots.
Struisbaai is one of those venues in South Africa where everybody wants to come and fish, you know, whether it's on holiday, socially or competitively. You're quite fortunate here. We've got lots of bays, you've got sandy beaches, you've got places that face into the east, face on the wind. It's actually very similar to where I come from in the Eastern Cape, where you can always find a sheltered place to fish. Weather conditions, sea conditions, you've got a few options, and there's a lot of bites here when you get the right conditions. So it's a lovely place to fish. Unfortunately, looking at the weather, we're cutting it a bit fine with the weather this time. They're expecting quite big seas, especially for the first day. The last day there's going to be quite a strong easterly wind. So the weather is not ideal, but when you get dicey conditions like these, you'd rather be in a place like Struisbaai compared to most other places in South Africa.
The first person to go onto a fish with lines in was Ralph from the under 21s. It was a small fish, but at least he opened his account. When it comes to these tournaments, often the tournament can be won or lost by 1 or 2 points. So these smaller fish that the guys catch really means a lot to them, and everyone counts. Also doing well up in the northern boundary was Emir Smith from the under 21 teams from South Africa. He was targeting a bigger fish with steel trace, but ended up catching a nice big nose grunter on this trace, and for him that was an absolute bonus fish. Brian Curtis from the Namibian senior A side was doing very well in the tough conditions and caught a few fish to put him on the board. Considering the tough conditions for the day, the Namibian master side had a very good day and also landed a very nice Bailey. The South African senior side on the other hand had a very difficult day. Their strategy just didn't work. They were looking for big fish, and unfortunately weren't too many big fish around, so they chopped and changed and really tried their best to get some fish on the board, but for them it wasn't a nice day at the office at all. What makes the area so difficult to manage is the fact that there was a whole lot of different aspects to look at for management. There was areas where there's only beach and sand, there were areas where there's a lot of rock, some areas you had to wade out to rocks and stand on the reef and throw onto other reef, so there was a lot of factors management had to look at to place the anglers. As the tide started dropping, there's an area where there's a rock quite deep out opening up, and Gerrit and Scholl decided to wade out to this rock and just try and see if they could find a fish fishing in the deeper water. It wasn't very long for other anglers to notice Gerrit and Scholl wading out to this rock, so after a while it got a little bit crowded in this area. It was a very difficult wade, but everybody tried to get there and join Gerrit and Scholl on this rock. Scholl was the first one to get a bite at this specific spot, and at this stage any fish would do. The conditions were tough and the guys were fishing for anything that weighed. Years ago we used to weigh fish with physical scales, and after much work through all the research companies and anglers, we started measuring fish. The main reason for that is to protect our fish species. When we used to weigh these fish in weighing nets and with scales, we used to damage them and hurt them. Now it's a simple process of just measuring the fish, and then there's a calculation from measurement to weight, and that's what gets placed onto the angler scorecard. After Scholl landed his smooth hound, one of the Namibian anglers came back and also landed a fish, and in those difficult conditions Namibia had a very good day. Normally in these tournaments, when anglers end up fishing the dam, it means that the conditions are difficult. Big seas, strong winds, and that's one of those little hideaway spots where you can actually go and get fish in these difficult conditions. Unfortunately on the day, the conditions were very difficult. It was onshore wind, it was miserable, it was a bit cold, windy with the odd shower of rain coming through, but the fish just didn't feed. So it was an extremely difficult day for all anglers. They tried their best, but it was one of those days where the fish just didn't play along. Alright, so after a very difficult day's fishing, the South African senior side ended up with only 9.17 points. The Namibian senior side had a better day on 32.7 points. The South African under-21 team ended up with 20.18 points, and the Namibian under-21 team with 59.16 points. Then when it comes to the South African Masters, ended up at 25.52 points, and the Namibian Masters had a brilliant day, ended up at 108.4 points. Then in the other area where the other three teams were fishing, the South African Grandmasters had a good day at 49.84 points, and the Namibian Grandmasters ended up at 10.28 points. The South African ladies at 20.7 points, and the Namibian ladies 29.2 points. And finally, the South African under-16 team at 30.47 points, and the Namibian under-16s at 21.4 points. It was a very challenging day for the South African senior side. They worked very hard, but things didn't work out their way. But on the other hand, Namibia had a very good day. They ended up getting a few vital fish when they needed to get it. Among the Namibian teams, they landed a few paylies, which really helped them to rack up some points. So in total, a tough day for the South Africans, but a relatively good day for the Namibian sides. On day two, the South African senior side fished the Plaat area. Now, this is the area which is long wades, it's mainly beach, very few rocks to fish. And this is where the South African strength comes into play. They are tall, strong anglers, very good waders with a long cast. And this is the day where they really have to come back and make up for the bad day they had on day one.
We run around during the day. We'll walk up and down the beaches. As you know, there's no more beach driving, so it's a tough task. Minimum area 5 kilometers, maximum 10. So you do a lot of walking, place the anglers where you think there's going to be things happening. That's where the guide comes into the frame again. And then you just take it from there. You know, you've got a game plan before we start, but it could change on the day. Depends on the surf, depends on the size of the surf, depends on the color of the water. And obviously you want your anglers to catch a little bit more than the Namibian sides, otherwise we can't beat them. And that's what we do. It's very enjoyable. Obviously we won't be if we don't enjoy it.
Lines in the second morning was at 7 o'clock. The South African guys all started with bigger baits, obviously looking for big fish, just to get their confidence up and get them back in the lead. After fishing for these big fish for a few hours, management realized that those big fish aren't around. The South African guys scaled down and started scratching, looking for the smaller fish. But this is also a big strength of the South African guys. They're very good at this. Everybody scaled down, grabbed their lighter gear and started targeting your lesser sand sharks, little cobbies and fish like that. Gerard Geese from the South African senior side was one of the first guys to scale down, and Gerard decided to fish with double hook trace, and his sort of main choice of baits was one hook with a meaty fleshy bait. It's like a sardine mackerel mixture, and then you'd have a chocker bait on the other hook, and those sort of, they covered both bases. If there was a little cob around, you'd get it on the chocker bait, but if there was a little lesser sand shark or blue ray or something, you would get it on that meaty bait. so the tournament's been going for a good hour and a half now this morning. The guys started off throwing big baits, looking for the odd reggie or diamond or bronzy that was in the trough overnight. It's not happening, there's no big fish around, so now they're starting to scale down a bit. There's some lesser sand sharks, a few little smooth hounds around. So this is all about racking up the points, catch what's around, and also Gerard's caught a few small little fish now. They all weigh, they count, so I think that's the way it's turning now. The guys are all turning and changing their tactics, looking for the smaller fish. It's always been a strength of the South African side to be good at scratching fish out. Our conditions are generally difficult, so when it comes to scratching, we know we need to work very hard to find these fish, and it's a big advantage for the South African team to end up scratching for these smaller fish. As the tide started dropping, the sandbanks started revealing themselves. These little lesser sand sharks, they like to feed on these sandbanks and on the edges of it. So these were the areas that the anglers started looking for these specific species. Within these tournaments, teamwork is essential. Gerard started fishing this area, he got a few fish. Greg Sutherland got pulled in by management to the same area as Gerard, and Gerard quickly just briefed Greg as to what's happening and where the fish is biting to get him straight into the zone. It's quite common in these tournaments that when there's a specific area that throws a few fish, that management will bring a few more anglers from the same team into the same area. The whole idea is to capitalize on those few fish, dominate the area, and catch more fish than the opposition within that area.
Couple of bigger lessers around, so we moved I think 6 of our 7 guys up here. They're not wild, but you know, every 20 minutes or 15 minutes we get one of about 3 kilos, and it just keeps the board ticking. There's nothing big around today, not enough easterly yet.
Often on the Eastern Cape coastline, when fishing is very difficult, one species that person can target are little smoothhounds. Smoothhounds sort of patrol around reefs, sandbanks, and often right on the edge where the wave breaks on the beach. They like to eat bait like mullet head and chocker baits. So that's really a target species in these difficult conditions. They're not always very big, but they're points and they count. It's very important to keep the momentum going within these tournaments, and it wasn't long before the South African team really got onto a roll. Provision Moody caught a beautiful shad, which is for the day. It was a nice big shad, good points, and rolled on the other side, ended up getting a nice little eagle ray. All these fish contribute to the team's points, and it keeps the team's spirit up and just makes everybody work harder and harder towards having a good result for the day.
So I thought I needed. So I thought I needed. Thought I needed.
Towards the end of the day, the tide started running out. It was very low and fishing became really tough. Within the last hour, Roald ended up getting a nice little ray again. This being Roald's first cap in the box side, he really felt like he was contributing towards the team. There's always a lot of pressure on the new guys to perform, and Roald landing that fish in the last hour of the day when it was very difficult, really got his confidence going and gave him a boost for the rest of the tournament. The result of the day 2 was as follows. The South African senior side of the shocker day 1 with 9 odd points ended the day on 62.7 points. Namibia had a relatively good day, had a shocking second day and ended up with a cumulative points of 39.78. Then the South African under 21 team ended up on 74.9 points in total after day 2, and the Namibian under 21 73.8 points. Then the South African Masters won 68.8 points, with the Namibian Masters on a good result of 139.6 points. In the other division, the South African under 16s had a cumulative points of 68.1 after day 2, and the Namibian under 16s 44.6. The South African ladies team was slightly ahead of the Namibian ladies team at 52.85 points, with the Namibian ladies at 50.8 points. The South African Grandmasters doing very well, had a cumulative points of 89.7 versus Namibia's points of 29.3. After day 2's fishing, in most of the teams the points were very close. An exception was the South African Masters side with quite a good lead, and then when it came to the Grandmasters, the Namibians had a very good lead as well. On the third and the final day of the tournament, Rokel was held at 5 o'clock in the morning. The area for the day was from the Plaat at Struis all the way around the corner fishing the bricks to the Brood. This was a make or break day for most of the teams. Scores were very close. All the anglers that took part knew that one fish on this specific day could be the difference between winning and losing the tournament. Conditions were very difficult with a almost gale force southeasterly wind blowing straight into our faces, making fishing extremely difficult. On the rocks it was still fishable, but the guys on the beaches really struggled. It's hard to get into the zone, very difficult to wade, and difficult to get your bait into the area where the fish should be. The South African under 21 team had a nice start at the Brood. They hooked into a nice blue ray, and on a difficult day like that last day, those points were essential for them. Point difference between the South African and the Namibian under 21 team is very small, so it was a head-to-head competition. These guys were really giving it their best, and they were trying from all sides to outmuscle each other and see who's going to win the tournament at the end of the day. As the day progressed, the conditions got worse and worse. It was very difficult for anglers to keep themselves motivated, but the caliber of anglers taking part in this tournament never gave up. They kept on trying and hoping for decent fish before the end of the day. Out at Struisbaai, the South African Masters team, who had a big deficit in points, caught a nice spotty just to motivate them a bit and get them closer to that Namibian scoreline. On a day like this, where there's not many bonus fish around, it's very difficult fishing, all these little fish really mean a lot, and they all count a lot towards the end result. Although conditions were extremely difficult on the last day, there were a few good fish that came out, and I'll go through them quickly. At the Lus, MJ Smith from the South African 21 team continued his luck with the edible fish and landed up catching a nice cob of close to 21 kilos. Then from the Namibian Masters, who already had a very good lead, Johan Berger just continued and caught some beautiful fish. He ended up catching a raggy of 145 centimeters, and to top that, he also caught a very nice smooth hound to end his day. Leon Krause from the Namibian A-side really made the South African A-side sweat by landing a paley of close to 30 kilos right near the end of the day, and we all knew that the points were going to be very close at prize giving. During the last few minutes of the competition, we made our way to the Lus. The South African senior side was definitely in trouble after a nice fish that Leon Krause from Namibia senior side landed, and as Wimpy was about to blow the horn to signal the end of the tournament, we heard that Louis Allison hooked into a good fish. Watching from a distance, we could see Louis land a nice smooth hound at Deerloop. We all knew that the points were going to be very close between the South African senior A side and the Namibian A side, and this fish was definitely going to be the difference between winning and losing the tournament. After, which was most probably one of the most difficult and toughest tournaments between South Africa and Namibia, everybody got together at the hall at Struisbaai for the prize giving. The South African Grandmasters had an awesome tournament. The top 3 anglers within the Grandmaster group were all South Africans, with Tiberson in third place, Al Schrader in second place, and Julian Pybus in first place. Team results within the Grandmasters: Namibia came second at 34.23 points, and the South African Grandmasters took the gold medal with 88.54 points. The results for the Masters: top three anglers were: in third place, Barry Wareham from South Africa, second was Johan Burger from Namibia, and the winner for the Masters was Lawrence Fourie from Namibia. The team results for the Masters is South Africa 71.97 points, and Namibia took the gold medal with a very good winning score of 211.6 points. When it comes to results from the 16s, the top three anglers: in third place, T. Dowie from South Africa, in second place was H. Krause, and the top angler in the under 16 group was Morris Kobe. When it comes to the under 16 teams, second place was Namibia at 51.29 points, and the South African under 16s came first at 68.90 points. The results for the under 21s: in third place, Hal Jendel, second place was MJ Smith, and the top angler in that group was Barend van Est. The team results for the under 21s: in second place was Namibian under 21s at 72.8 points. The gold medal winners for the under 21s was South Africa at 112.01 points. In the ladies division, the top three anglers were as follows: in third place was Alzaan Cronje, second was Lydia Celia, and the winner of the ladies division was M. Westrand. The team results: in second place was the Namibian ladies at 49.58 points, and the gold medal winners there were South Africa at 68.55 points. When it came to calling the points for the senior sides, everybody was very tense and nervous. We knew the points would be very, very close. The end result was much closer than we anticipated, and actually one of those tournaments where it was the closest scoreline ever between the South African Senior A side and the Namibian Senior A side. When it comes to the top three anglers within this division, in third place was Leon Krause from Namibia, Louis Allison from South Africa came second, and Corné Krieger from Namibia won this division.
Ons kom by die spanuitslae. Die verskil is 1.05 punte. Ek weet so 2 jaar gelede het ons ook punte afgetrek by ons nasionale kampioenskappe. Dit was WP in die derde plek, het is punte aftrek, val hulle uit vierde toe. En vanaand het ons weer punte afgetrek. Kom ons kyk wat het is. In die tweede plek, silwermedalje wenner op 84,07 punte, Namibia.
The final result was a shock to Namibia, ending up second at 84.07 points. At the end of the tournament, South Africa beat Namibia with 1 point, and it just shows how important these small fish were during this tournament.
Op 85,12 punte, goudmedalje wenners, Suid-Afrika.
It was one of the most difficult tournaments in many, many years. But at the end of the day, it was all fished within good spirits. People had fun. It was a tough tournament, but they still enjoyed it, and friends were made for life.